Do you know what I like to do when there's a hot topic floating around? I like to look at some baseball cards. So the other morning, I get up and I just had this topic on my mind. And I was in deep thought all morning. And I was thinking about how there are so many vintage cards with autographs on them. And how I really had to question all of them, if they're all real or not. And a few hours later, I go onto YouTube, and Dave Blue Jacket 66 drops a video talking about this very topic. And I text him, and I'm like, this is so coincidental, because I spent all morning thinking about this topic. And it must have hit both of us because we're seeing so many vintage cards that are autographed. And so I just wanted to give my 2 cents and my thoughts from my experiences growing up. I know George earlier today, my man George over at Diamond Yard Sports Cards, dropped a video on this topic. He wanted to address it. And sounds like he had quite a different experience than I did growing up, but I think I have a few years on him, and that's probably why. He got a lot of cards autographed when he was young. When I was growing up, you just didn't do that. You didn't get cards autographed. Number one, it was considered to deface them. And you would see guys come in with signed cards to the card dealer, the card store, and they would offer them very little or tell them they ruined the card or they didn't want them at all. Funny how times change. When that really changed was in the early 2000s, when they started coming out with all these certified autograph cards in new product. And there was a big boom and everybody chasing the autograph rookie cards or just the autograph cards. And that kind of gave the go signal for you to go get your older cards signed, because if you had the modern rookie card signed, then maybe you wanted to get some older cards signed. But when you're talking about back in the 70s, most of the 80s, I would say, you just didn't get cards signed like you do today. I think it was probably in the 80s where TTMing became more of a thing, during that original boom, and more so into the 90s. But, when I was growing up, like I met these 3 Pittsburgh Pirates at the time at the mall. They had a signing. And I didn't even consider getting them to sign cards. I would display this, but I got a baseball signed by them. And we would get photos signed. I met Lynn Swan, and I had him sign a team pick. It never crossed my mind to take a card to sign. Heck, right after I was born, Doc Ellis and Nellie King signed my stroller. My mom never thought to take a card for them to sign. And, we would, if we would get cards signed, it was usually greats cards. It wasn't, the vintage cards, the good cards. I wouldn't take a big rookie card and have it signed. Most of the time you got a baseball or a bat or a photo or index cards like this Satchel Paige or Lefty Grove. There were a lot of guys that collected signed index cards. So autograph cards wasn't a thing. Now it certainly is now. And, you have these guys living for a very long time in retirement. And you take Mickey Mantle, for example. He made more money selling autographs at shows than he ever made playing baseball. And he signed for a long time. And so a lot of the guys that lived to be old and were alive in the 90s and 2000s probably signed a lot, right? They were at shows, they were TTMs. And I think what Dave was talking about was not those guys. And what I was thinking about was not those guys either. What was on my mind is the old players. I mean, you take Jackie Robinson. He died in 1972. Well, people weren't getting their cards signed in 1972 or 71 or 70, at least not in a big way. I think there were always some collectors who did that. That was like more of a niche, but it wasn't done in a big way. I saw a signature on eBay one time, not so long ago, a few years back, and it was a Jackie Robinson autograph. It looked real good. The only problem, it was on a 1976 card. It was on some greats card, and whoever was trying to pawn this off didn't realize when he died, I guess. Since he died in 72, I don't know how he could sign a card in 76. I did a video on the Rock autograph a while back, and in looking over all the authenticated autographs, I mean, none of them look alike. They all look different. I don't think you could truly ever know for sure if you have an authentic autograph unless you saw somebody sign it. And I think that's what's so safe and popular about check collecting or any legal documents. They're far more likely to be authentic. And there are some good faked signatures out there. Are there signatures that are authenticated that are not real? Absolutely there are. I think in the early days of grading, if I'm not mistaken, I think PSA and the authenticators, didn't they authenticate Roberto Clemente's Clubhouse Guy signature? I think Bo Jackson's wife signed most of his stuff. I think those were authenticated. We've seen recently, people, these companies getting caught. I don't want to say caught, but authentic autographs that aren't, or at least experts say they're not. We see even authenticated fake Topps authentic autographed cards that aren't really from Topps. They were fake. So can we ever know for sure? I don't think so. Will this kill the autograph card market? No. But the one thing you have to be careful about is the old players. Take Carl Hubble. I know he signed a lot when he was old. You can find his signature on cards. But he died in 1988, before the autograph boom. And so when you go back and you look at some of these old players who died before, let's say, the first card boom, you have to be a little suspect because it wasn't common to do it then. When George was growing up, or people who grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, 2000s, sure, you were probably getting your cards autographed as a kid. But not so much in the years prior. So you have to ask yourself, where are all these vintage autograph cards coming from all of a sudden? Because there's more than we've ever seen. Now, obviously, they're more popular than they've ever been. They're more popular than ever before. So have people just been sitting on these all this time and now decide to sell because cards are up? Or is there some unscrupulous stuff going on? I don't know. I'm not here to provide a definitive answer, but these are things that we should probably question, and you should probably be careful. Times change, things change, and this is a perfect example of it, as one time signing a card was considered devaluing it, and now they sell for way more. Dave pointed out that you wouldn't take your Hank Aaron rookie card and have him sign it back in the day. That was true. That's changed. So, it's just my thoughts on it. While I have you, I got a nice card in. I have been putting together this set, 1927 W560, and have most of the big stars, but I didn't have Walter Johnson, so I picked one up. And this is the red version, and the red versions of these tend to be much tougher than the plain black. So I'm glad to finally add this. I think Rogers Hornsby's the next big one I need. I think I have all the other really big ones, I believe. But I love these little cards. I love all cards. All right, that's what I had on my mind. Thanks for hanging out with me.